This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about HEX getting wrecked by the SEC in the latest lawsuit, as well as what is probably next for Ethereum. But I want to start by asking you to imagine a crypto that was started by a guy who was allegedly responsible for a large percentage of the world's spam emails. That would be this guy, Richard James Schuler, also known as Richard Hart, who used to be a spam king and now is a crypto spam king who likes his toys and his vulgar license plates and his vulgar low-class dressing. Here's a famous video of him twerking as well. So the real question is, can you trust a tacky twerking spam king with your savings? And actually, as it turns out, surprisingly not. Next thing you're going to tell me is that my $20 million inheritance from that Nigerian prince is not real too. I tried to cover this about a year ago in September of 2022, talking about how HEX was a scam and how investors in HEX should be prepared to lose everything. You can refer back to this video, which I'll link to in the description notes below. I got a lot of pushback from various Hexicans and HEX accounts. Here is one as recently as June of this year from Crypto Nomad. This guy has been covering HEX and PulseChain in all the wrong ways. So much misinfo, I'm actually out of words. Disappointed he misleads his 200,000 YouTube followers. On a good day, I'd have loved to have a candid conversation, but Bitcoin maxis are beyond saving. It turns out that a lot of these influencers like Crypto Nomad have been receiving subpoenas from the SEC. Maybe this person received one as well. I wouldn't be surprised, but unfortunately she was wrong about that. HEX has gone straight down since I made those videos, and it's hitting new lows today, unfortunately, for the Hexicans. If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment. The reason HEX is selling off today is because the founder of HEX, Richard Hart, has been sued by the SEC and charged with misappropriating millions of dollars of investor funds, selling unregistered crypto asset securities, more than $1 billion worth. Here's a quote from the press release. The Securities and Exchange Commission today charged Richard Hart and 3 unincorporated entities that he controls, HEX, PulseChain, and PulseX, with conducting unregistered offerings of crypto asset securities that raised more than $1 billion in crypto assets from investors. The SEC also charged Hart and PulseChain with fraud for misappropriating at least $12 million of the offering proceeds to purchase luxury goods, including sports cars, watches, and a 555-carat black diamond known as the Enigma, reportedly the largest black diamond in the world. This really was Richard Hart's evil genius. Have idiots send you their ETH in exchange for an even more scammy token, spend that ETH on fancy cars and watches and tacky luxury clothes, and then use pictures of this wealth to recruit more financially illiterate, get-rich-quick suckers. Rinse and repeat until the SEC finally catches up with you, and that day is fortunately finally here. It's a good time to review the Howey Test, investment of money in a common enterprise with a reasonable expectation of profits to be derived from the efforts of others, and that last part is especially important. If you pass the Howey Test, if your financial instrument passes the Howey Test, it's an investment contract and subject to U.S. securities laws. And what the SEC is arguing in this complaint is that Hart violated U.S. securities laws by offering an unregistered security. This is part of the complaint. The SEC says that Richard Hart, is familiar with U.S. securities laws and the test, the Howey Test, for determining what is and is not a security specifically. So he frequently makes veiled references about why investors can expect profits while also making tongue-in-cheek disavowals. But his efforts to obfuscate are unavailing. Each of the HEX, PulseChain, and PulseX offerings involved investments of money in common enterprises with a reasonable expectation of profits to be derived based on the efforts of others. This is the Howey Test, which is quoted explicitly in the SEC's complaint. And you can go through the complaint, which I'll link to in the description notes below. And one way of doing this is you can just search for efforts, and you'll come up with a bunch of things. This, for example, from page 8, Hart personally undertook efforts he claimed would make HEX successful. From the outset, Hart controlled and continues to control nearly all aspects of the HEX ecosystem, and he did various live streams where he was pumping this. He also shared additional efforts he was undertaking, including the creation of more walkthrough videos, ringing up some more exchanges and whales that he knows, etc., as well in the same video disclosing that he directed certain developers to work on the HEX code to the extent that their work benefited the ecosystem. HEX is one of those cases that clearly falls It clearly passes the Howey Test and thus is a security that should have been registered with the SEC and fair disclosures made before it was offered to the public. Obviously, those were not made because it's a scammy thing that Richard Hart wanted to dump on naive retail investors. The other very significant news that we got today was that we got another indication that the SEC views every single crypto except for Bitcoin to be a security. I don't think we can underestimate the importance of this. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong says that the SEC asked them to stop trading in everything except Bitcoin before they got sued. And Brian Armstrong goes on to say that the SEC came back to us and they said, we believe every asset other than Bitcoin is a security. Batman is right here to discipline Robin and point out that there really is only Bitcoin and chip coins, and crypto is this fake category of unregistered securities. So while Richard Hart ran his crypto scam for the dumbest of the dumb, who believed in magic 35% yields and crypto unicorns and Gucci pants and fancy cars and rainbows, just because Vitalik and Joe Lubin have been targeting a slightly less uneducated group of people with Ethereum does not mean that they're going to get away with it in the end. And this statement from the SEC to Coinbase, which Brian Armstrong reported on, shows clearly that the SEC considers Ethereum to be an unregistered security as well. So I would just say they're coming for you, Cat Purse Boy. They are coming for you soon. And we can expect the lawsuit to come out, I would imagine, in the next 6 to 12 months, depending how busy the SEC is. My closing suggestion would be to save a little money and let's put Vitalik Buterin, Joe Lubin, Richard Hart, Charles Hoskinson, Sam Bankman-Fried, Do Kwon, Alex Mashinsky, Brian Armstrong, and Ghislaine Maxwell all into the same prison cell. After due process and a fair trial for all, of course, they should all be assumed to be innocent unless otherwise proven. I'm sure they're all great people in real life, but some of them kind of look like scammers in the same way that Richard Hart looked a little bit scammy before he was sued. But let's let these cases play out in the courts and see what they end up deciding. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.